Thank you. I think we have time for one more question, and I want to give you all opportunity to meet individually with those attending. So the final question for this evening, and we'll go ahead and we'll start with Rich and work our way that way, and then Peggy and go that way. Where do you stand on the off-highway vehicle issue? Do you believe it would be good or bad for Boulder City?
So it's a good question, and it's on the ballot too. And I noticed a lot of candidates and people not really taking positions on this one, and I think it's appropriate to take a position on this one, and time to take a position. There is certainly more things I need to learn about it as a council member, as a future council member, hopefully. I have a lot of questions, but it's time to decide, do we want these vehicles on the street or not? Are we okay with that? That's what the question is on the ballot. And so I would vote for it. I would vote yes, and I think it's good for the town. I think it'd be good for tourism. I think it would offset some of the effects we're feeling through the I-11 bypass in our business community. And I think we give it a shot. I think there's things that we could put in place, like a sunset clause that would allow us to revisit it and see how it's working. We certainly have some kinks to work out to get it going, such as parking and safety and things like that. But this community that's rallied behind this idea has done their homework, and there's precedent for this. So at this point, I'm a yes. I would vote for it. I would support it. I'd like to see how it works. I would hope that it gives our business community a boost, and make sure that it's safe, and make sure that we have an opportunity to review yearly or in a couple of years what's been known as a sunset clause on it, to go back and take a look at it again. And I think it's time for candidates and folks to take a position on this. So yes.
I'm happy that the question is on the ballot, that it will be an advisory question. This is a communication that we've been having in the community. We have a strong base of OHV enthusiasts in our community that enjoy our recreation. Outdoor recreation is one of the defining features, I think, of Boulder City. And they have an issue with the access and the accessibility to that. On the other hand of that conversation, there are concerns with safety. There's concern with noises. I've heard firsthand from people who live there at the edge of town. They have people, driving basically right next to their back wall. There are real concerns here. But this is where this conversation needs to go. This is where we're meeting right now. The discussion of accessibility while also discussing safety. Should this question pass, I see there be no reason that we can't use it to reinforce the importance of following not only the rules of the road, but following the rules of the land. I think many of us would agree that a lack of enforcement has led to lax behavior by many OHV enthusiasts. I'm friends with many of them. I understand they're out there to have fun. I really think that if this does pass, that we can use this as an opportunity to make sure that we do remain a safe community, and that these vehicles are operated in a safe way, and that we are allowing for better access, so that people can enjoy the recreation that is available to so many. So I'm glad it's on the ballot. That's the right way that we should be talking about this, because it should be up to the community, not just whether or not I like off-road vehicles or not. That's not what's important. What's important is the community's direction, and having this conversation and having this ballot question is the appropriate first step, I think.
If any of you have seen my Jeep, you can probably tell I'm a big off-road guy. So I do stand with the OHV proposal. I think it would be good for Boulder City, and especially the businesses on the proposed OHV allowed route through town, which could even attract more businesses because of the increased flow of people in that area. And anyone unfamiliar with the group that started this whole thing is encouraging residents to attend one of their informational meetings. The next one is here in this room on March 19th. And one of the conditions for being able to drive on the streets is to be registered with the DMV. And the DMV is holding a registration event on March 23rd at Veterans Memorial Park. So you can even go and meet some of the people down there. They're all really nice. The probably even let you sit in the razors and whatnot. So that is my stand on that.
Well, as has been stated, this is an advisory question on our ballot, and I agree with all my fellow candidates that I think it's a good idea that it's on our ballot and the residents can weigh in on this. As James said, there's a large group of OHV enthusiasts that have been really advocating for this. And on the other hand, I've heard from many residents who are opposed, vehemently opposed, because of parking, noise, encroachment on their property, asbestos, and many other things. So it is something all of our residents need to weigh in on. I personally believe that it doesn't have to be anything goes or nothing is allowed. I don't think it has. I think there is a spectrum of choices, and I think a good way to start is to designate certain streets so that our local residents who have these large OHVs can ride on the public streets to access the desert without violating the law. Because I know a lot of them want to do that, they want to be law-abiding, but they can't get to the desert unless they're on private streets. So I think that's a good way to start and then see how it goes from there. One of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit was the economic development aspect of it, which Trenton talked about, because that was when the city hosted a town hall back in September. That was a big push for the OHVs, was the economic development aspect of it. So as some of you might know, in Mesquite, they have allowed OHVs on some of the city streets. They don't allow them on the downtown area, some of the main streets. So I called Al Lickman, who's the mayor in Mesquite, to get his feedback about how this has been for them in Mesquite. He said that they've outlined general operational requirements for the use of OHVs in Mesquite. He said there haven't been big major complaints with residents for the most part. It hasn't been a big enforcement issue. But what surprised me was that he said the economic impact was neutral. He said in his opinion it had had very little impact on their economic development. Of course in Mesquite they've got casinos and gaming and that kind of thing. So, but anyway, in his opinion it didn't. I also happen to know a man who lives in Marysville, Utah, and this has been another example of great economic development. And I happened to have the opportunity to talk to him the other day. Marysville is a very small town in Utah. And when I asked him about economic development, he looked a little surprised. He said they've gone from one restaurant to two restaurants. Tuck's, which is the local convenience store and also sells gas, has done well. And he rents out ATVs and has some cabins. And they've also built an RV park in Marysville. So again, I think this is good for the voters to weigh in on.
First of all, I want to start with the fact that people have come up to me and said, I will absolutely not vote for you if you are for this. And I've had people come up to me and say, well, I will absolutely vote for you if you are for this. So I'm probably going to upset half of you. I understand we're talking about specific types of vehicles on specific streets. Mine is one of those streets I live on Utah, with 2 entrances and exits on either end of town, and I've never been on one, and I've tried to look at this objectively. I understand it's to tie us to an existing trail system, increase visitor participation and revenues, and control access to the desert. The benefit would be an increase in, also I've been told, it will increase enforcement capability and trail management. The problem people perceive is those people who go on the desert and are irresponsible users of this type of equipment. They enter and exit wherever they wish, and they don't obey the 1,000-foot boundaries. They create dust and noise, and that's the perception of the problem of this. These users don't represent the core of people who are behind this initiative. They want these certain classes to be able to go into certain types of business, get gas, go to a restaurant, go to the grocery store, and go back out into the desert. I too have seen the ordinances from Mesquite, but they do not allow stopping at businesses. They can go a certain amount of distance from one place to another, and there's a limit on how much distance they can go. If we do have this, and again, I'm interested in seeing the outcome of the advisory ballot initiative. I think that would give me a better sense of really how many people are for this or against it. There'd have to be some pretty strict regulations on noise abatement, less than 90-60 dBs. Dirt management, including a concern about bringing asbestos onto our city streets. Safety, air quality, and speed ordinances, which I know that they're talking about licensed drivers over 16 years old, maximum 25 miles an hour. Again, the voters will express their opinion on the next ballot. If we do go ahead, I also agree that there should be a trial period with a sunset clause. It would be interesting if it would improve the riding behaviors and also opportunities to increase law enforcement funding.
Well, first, the police need to be involved in enforcement. Right now, they're a little lax, and that's why the 1,000-foot rule is sometimes not observed. And ATVs and dirt bikes are not included in this law. OHVs must have proper mufflers, so they're not going to be noise problem. Currently, people are entering from many points in the horse streets as well as behind the church in Utah and that. By adopting this, we'll have just 2 entry points, and the police will be able to monitor it correctly. They plan on establishing trail systems with speed signs. The OHVs will have access to gas stations and store without the trailers, so there'll be a lot less congestion with people hauling their ATVs with the trailers and stuff. It'll help the gas stations a lot because the people can just go get the gas and go back out. There's small, compact vehicles, and I do believe that they should have a chance. OHV users are required to comply with all the laws and regulations to any approved ordinances. So I think it's definitely worth a shot, and we should give it a trial period.
I am thinking we also should think seriously about voting yes on the advisory question. The citizens that are in favor of this, that are, doing the things, they're going way out of their way to educate the community so we know what we're voting on, what they're anticipating. When people have suggested problems on that, they've gone back, discussed it, come to the next meeting, and they've come up with a solution, their own solution, limitations on themselves. So they're definitely working very hard, and I think it behooves us to give them a chance. They would have the same rules of the road as you and I would have when we're driving our cars. The parking isn't going to be any worse than if they parked their vehicles, got in their pickup truck, and drove into town to eat or get gas or whatever it is they were going to do. There is a benefit, too, to this, because we would have all these. I don't think there's going to be a huge economic difference impact unless we have businesses that move to town to cater to these people, whatever types of things they need or use a lot of, kind of like motorcycle riders. They have their own places to shop because there are certain things that definitely enhance riding a motorcycle, and I'm sure the OHVs are the same way. So unless we have those kind of businesses moving to town, it probably isn't going to make a huge economic impact, I wouldn't think. But the plus side of this is that when, on a Saturday afternoon, when you're wandering around downtown, you would have a chance to see some very unique and colorful vehicles that we don't see now. And that is a plus in my book.
I want to thank you all for your time tonight, for answering the question. And I want to thank you all for coming. I'd like to give you all the opportunity to meet individually with the candidates. We have the room till about 8 o'clock, so thank you again. I appreciate it.